Welcome back to the Abundance Alchemist, your quiet space to remember who you are. Tonight we speak softly about sleep maxing as a powerful tool for subconscious wealth reprogramming, not as a goal to chase, but as something your soul already recognizes. Maybe you arrived here wondering if you had to work just a little harder, do just a little more, to finally let abundance be real in your body. Maybe you've spent nights looping thoughts, trying, wanting, hoping sleep will deliver you softly into another way of being. And here you are, following the glow of some part of you that still believes in ease. Even if you've woken up tired or met your reflection with old ache, something inside keeps searching, coaxing you toward a gentler, deeper remembering. There's a quiet pulse beneath all striving, an invitation to rest as if the world has always wanted you whole. What if you've never actually been broken? What if your softness was the wealth all along? What if abundance was not a prize to win, but the gentle ground you've been standing on every night, even as you sleep? There's nothing to fix here, nothing to hustle for in the darkness. Only a homecoming, a soft return to the truth your body already whispers just before drifting off, that you are safe, you are worthy, and all you need is already happening, even when your eyes close. So stay with me a while, let your breath settle, let your mind loosen its grasp, let something brighter rearrange you. And quietly, behind the veil of dreams, there's a silence that settles in the center of you when the day is done, the sort of hush that isn't peace, but isn't noise either. Maybe it lingers as you close your eyes. An ache behind your ribs that hums with everything you've given to be enough. All those hours measuring your worth by what you could produce, or how quickly you could fix. Or the ways you shaped yourself to fit what someone else called success. There's dignity in effort, yes. But sometimes the body tells a quieter truth, one that aches when the lights go out. The truth that something inside is tired of trying to earn what can only be remembered. There's a loneliness that grows when the heart is busy tallying the not enoughs. Not loud or dramatic, just a hollow note that plays itself when you remember every sacrifice, the missed chances to rest, the words you swallowed, every time you promised you'd be satisfied. Just as soon as the next thing comes, even now, there's a soft asking in you. It wonders if it's safe to stop running, if the world would end, or if you would simply meet yourself in the quiet. The ache whispers questions, patient and unforced. Did you learn to run before you learned to rest? Did you come to believe that desiring more meant something about your value, your safety, your place here? Sometimes the biggest longing is not for riches or even for ease, but for the burden to loosen, for the weight of proving to be laid down, just for a night. Maybe you recognize that ache in the hollow between your thoughts, the one that aches not for what you lack, but for what you've forgotten you already are. When you listen closely in darkness, it's not always answers that come. Sometimes it's an old ache half-heard that only wants to be named, to be sat beside, to be known as real. There is a quiet ache inside that never really goes away, a footstep just out of sight, moving toward something that almost feels familiar. Sometimes, when it is especially quiet, you feel it most sharply. the yearning to finally exhale, to let the weight be set down, to be wealthy and soft and seen at the same time. It slips behind every thought, shape-shifting into longing, into hunger, into the simple hope that life could be more gentle, more open, more yours. The world has taught you to hunger, and perhaps you believed the wanting was evidence of lack. But if you listen softly to the desire pulsing underneath everything, it might whisper a truer story. What if this longing is not a punishment? What if your yearning is simply the memory of gold in your bones? What if your soul never forgot ease, just learned to wait for it? Sometimes the ache dances in the chest, sometimes in the belly, low and longing and ancient, wanting safety, but also wanting miracles. Wanting to have without holding too tightly, wanting to be powerful without the burning, wanting to rest and still belong to abundance. There are hours when you wonder if it's even allowed, if ease can be woven into wealth, if power can move in you like a tide that cradles instead of crashing. It's not comfort you're truly after. That would be too small. It's that wordless sweetness, like falling back into your own skin after a long absence, like recognizing yourself in the mirror after years in exile. Sometimes you touch it for just a moment, a breath, a laugh, the way sunlight slips across your hands, and you remember, just briefly, that none of this is missing after all. The world told you to chase, to prove, to survive. But your bones remember something else. When was it you learned to call yearning a flaw? When did you first decide ease was dangerous? Did you ever really agree, or was that a story you carried because you loved too much to let it go? Even now, you reach instinctively for something that has never really left you. The desire tugs at you in the night, whispering of wealth that doesn't cost your softness, of power that asks nothing but your realness, of belonging so deep it feels like silence. What if you stayed curious, as if your longing was the beginning of remembering, not an error to fix? There are nights like this, when nothing needs to be hunted. Let yourself ache. Let yourself want. The gentlest abundance might be the one that already knows your name, and is patient enough to wait until you're ready to come home. Somewhere behind your eyes, there is a question that rarely rises to the surface, a whisper your soul almost hopes will go unnoticed. What if the act of letting go is not safe? What secret danger hides itself in the space that comes when you soften? At the edge of wanting rest, is there a hesitation, like your body holds back, bracing for impact, as if the world runs on a fuel you were never built to burn? Sometimes you notice how silence brings its own ache, a quiet that feels so large your chest stretches to hold it. Maybe your mind keeps running, the way children run through grass, not because there's a race, but because slowing down would mean there's nowhere left to outrun what you feel. Sometimes it's not even your voice you hear in the echo, it's memories of old living rooms, dinners, rooms thick with expectation. Somewhere long ago, you learned that softness is surrendered only after work is paid in effort and sweat. Is it possible that safety was sewn together with striving, so tightly woven you can't see the thread? When did the idea slip in that everything valuable is earned, and all else is danger or debt? There's a suspicion under your skin, one that sometimes speaks in a sigh. If I pause, if I let the world catch up, will everything I've built fall away? The fear is not just about losing wealth. It is about being left behind by life itself. If you grew up hearing the quiet praise of the tireless, absorbing the almost invisible worship of the busy, you might find yourself, even now, afraid of your own ease. Maybe ease feels fraudulent, or like borrowed clothing that doesn't quite fit. There's a loneliness to rest, the kind that sits at the edge of comfort, tempting you to believe you are missing something important while you relax. There's an anxiety when softness meets abundance, as if life's greatest gifts are too slippery to catch without hard, calloused hands. And sometimes, in the gentle hours of night, your heart aches because you want so much to believe rest can be safe. But the body remembers. The mind revisits stories handed down through the generations. You recognize the loops. Don't trust the comfort. Don't let go. Keep earning, keep proving, keep running. The world rewards the restless. You lay here, half awake, half dreaming, wondering if you could ever belong to something softer, wondering what it might be like for rest and abundance to breathe together in you, like old friends safe. Sometimes it's the quietest ache that shapes your days, not a thunderous pain, but a steady hum under everything. A sense that something is being chased, or something precious might slip away if you fall still even for a breath. It isn't loud. It isn't sharp. It simply becomes the shape of living, like tracing the edge of a familiar river you don't remember entering. There's a loop that runs in the background while you work and care and do, like a song with no final verse. A need to give just a bit more, to prove that you're enough, or delay the sinking into rest. Softly, there's an unspoken rule. As long as you keep moving, keep offering, keep performing, you'll outrun the old ache of never quite arriving. But in the quiet hours, you feel the tiredness curl around your bones, the desire for an exhale that never quite fully comes. Maybe you learned that love is something to be earned, with effort, with hustle, with invisible gold stars you pin on yourself after sleepless nights. Maybe you felt that your place in this world was always up for negotiation, that there was some finish line where enoughness waited if you could only reach it. Or maybe you find yourself always waiting, searching for some future moment where you'll finally sit down inside your own life and truly rest. Yet even in that search, the loop returns, whispering that there is still something more to do, some new measure of worth to achieve, some reason not to let your guard down yet. Sometimes it looks like overgiving, pouring out what you wish someone would pour gently back into you. Sometimes it looks like working until the sun forgets to warm your face, or sacrificing silence for approval, thinking the next accolade might soften the internal ache. Other times it's the art of delay, stretching your needs thin while tending to everyone else, never choosing what would truly nourish you out of fear that your own softness might go unseen, unvalued. Yet beneath all of it, a quieter knowing stirs, an ancient ache for home, not a place but a returning, a remembrance that you were not born to audition for belonging, not created to hustle your way into love. And still, the old patterns gather at dusk. The gentle demand to keep propping up an identity built on doing, instead of being held by the natural worth of your breathing, your presence, your gentle heart. The softness opens like an untouched window, barely creaking, letting in air that's been waiting outside for years. Rest is the deep invitation, and perhaps none of this has ever been about earning a moment of peace, but realizing how much space has always held you, even when you braced to carry it alone. So somewhere in you, maybe under breathing skin, or between your ribs, is a quiet knowing. Receiving is not weakness, but the ancient language your soul never forgot. Tonight, let that truth move through you the way hands settle in warm water. There is no badge for pushing harder. The ache that comes from endless effort is only there to call you back to the wisdom that grew in your pauses. The world wants to convince you that doors only open to those who pound and force, but life, actual life, has kept gifting you what you were open enough, soft enough, still enough to let in. Receptivity is not a strategy, it's a return. Think about the hush right after laughter leaves a room, how it lingers, how it feels like something invisible is present. Rest is that space. Rest is the field after harvest, patient and full, almost humming. Sometimes it is the way a child falls asleep mid-sentence, certain that the world will hold them until morning. Now, these moments live inside you, not as tactics to apply, but as cellular memory, as the wealth you once were, before you learned to chase, before you measured your worth in effort and sweat. As the world outside may say move, gather, tighten your grip, but listen. Your soul has always known the difference between surviving and being gathered up by something larger, kinder, unearned. Nothing inside you has to be wrestled or conquered. What if you let rest be the language tonight? What if softness is the door, and what's waiting on the other side is nothing you ever had to earn? There is a truth that moves in the darkness, beneath language, beneath what anyone ever told you was possible. Sometimes it hums quietly behind the noise of the day. Sometimes it shows up as an ache right under your ribs before you fall asleep. You don't have to pursue it. This truth is woven through you, steady and soft, more ancient than the stories that told you to try harder. The sleeping mind knows how to walk this invisible path. While the waking world spins with to-do lists and timelines, it's your resting self that bends reality around your quietest wishes. This matters because so much of life taught you to push, to strain, to manifest with effort instead of letting go. But ease is the real current here. Gentleness is power, and it was never about force. Imagine the ocean wave. It shapes the shore by arriving again and again, not by crashing all at once. Or the way grass grows in cracks, silently, while nobody's watching. Or how a seed finds its way through darkness by simply responding to what the soil allows. Your sleeping mind breathes in possibility. It creates without resistance because it never learned how to doubt. The quiet world behind your eyelids is not a place of waiting. It's a world where identity softens just enough to let new stories through. Night after night, you return to this place, almost forgetting that every morning's first breath is born from dreams written hours before. When you lay your head down, something wise and ageless awakens. It rearranges memory, expectation, longing. It loosens the rigid ways your heart tried to keep you safe, and steeps you in the truth that you are allowed to want, to receive, to heal in silence. The most natural miracles are the ones you sleep your way into. If you listen gently, you'll notice the creases begin to fade, the sharpness recedes, the world feels softer, as if it was always meant for you. There is a quiet in you that no accomplishment can imitate, a fullness so natural, it slips in silently, beneath all efforts to earn, to strive, to prove your worth. Sometimes abundance is not what glimmers around, but the deep sense you are being held by life itself. Even now, with nothing more than breath moving in and out, there is a softness underneath each moment, a root system of belonging you never had to fight for. This matters because you've spent years dreaming of more, wishing for the proof, looking for the sign that you're allowed to have, to become, to receive. What if the wealth you chase was only a mirror for the unconditional way you are loved here? If abundance is your nature, there is nothing left to crave, only waves to notice, like sacred tides already rolling in. It's like waking to sunlight warming your sheets, not because you called the sun, but because it rises for you, the way a deep exhale releases a weight you never realized you carried, and in the hush, you discover all that you need is already inside, or standing in the rain with arms wide, letting the sky remind you that receiving was always as easy as surrendering, and no permission was ever needed. Let yourself belong right here, not as a reward, but as a quiet, native place within you, just waiting to be remembered. Even as your mind wanders through forests of old stories, abundance does not leave. It whispers, soft and steady, that you are whole and always, always home. There is a quietness at the center of all you have noticed, a place behind your chest that listens and remembers, even when you try to forget. Tonight, every moment folds over on itself, time blurs, soft as the line between waking and sleep, trusting the memory that every ache held purpose, every longing was not emptiness, but a signpost inviting you home. The stories you have wandered through are still here, more illuminated now, like dew on morning grass, not so sharp, not so tangled, just traces of you, still tender, still learning. You notice the ache is not as loud when you pause to breathe through it. You notice how gently trust returns, sip by sip, not as an arrival, but as a remembering, the sound of your own voice whispering that soft really was the wealth all along. It's tender, the way old fears no longer grip quite as tightly, how patterns soften their edges, how shadows slip into their own rest. Everything in you welcomes this slow river of undoing. Even silence seems to cradle your thoughts now, holding space for new patterns to root, for old judgments to dissolve, for hope to hum quietly in the gaps between each heartbeat. Integration was never the goal, just another word for the kindness you show yourself in darkness. You hear it in the hush of your own breath, the comfort of sheets, the sturdy reliability of your pulse. As the moonlight creeping across your room is a reminder, change does not rush. Time and trust come with open hands, refusing to pull or push, only to hold. Every old label falls away as you rest here, a gentle shedding. Where anxiety once spiraled, your body offers shelter instead of alarm. Where scarcity once echoed, you feel the hush of abundance, soft, certain, already yours. The old stories are quieter now, but you are not empty without them. You are spacious, like the sky at midnight, able to hold whatever rises and falls. Tenderness isn't a destination. It is this, the slow, patient embrace of everything you've ever feared was too much. Soften further even now. Let every cell remember that trust is your true inheritance, and time has always been on your side. In this hush, nothing is broken, nothing missing. Only the gentle continuity of who you are, integrating, wordlessly, again and again. Let your mind feel like a room grown soft with evening. Let your breath move slow and round, as if the world pauses for your comfort. There is no end to this quiet, only layers of stillness, each more gentle than the last. Imagine now that your body is swaddled in the velvet dark, the kind of warmth that asks nothing of you. Picture a gentle river of gold just beneath your skin. It moves without rushing. It curves and pools in every hollow, every familiar place within you. Your heart listens. It notices this golden current, not as something to earn, but as a homecoming to what is already yours. Let each breath be an invitation. The world inside your chest, the hush between each inhale, even in silence, you recognize belonging here. Every cell knows the way, as if you've always been fluent in abundance, even when the world called you something else. Sink deeper as you picture roots growing from your limbs, each one curling into cool earth. It is safe to let yourself root, and safer still to let new wealth take shape quietly on the other side of effort. You don't have to push, you don't have to chase. Your truest self does not strive, only receives. You can rest here. Let the shape of your body blur into comfort. Let your thoughts turn glassy, soft around the edges, until they hold only this gentle truth, that there is nothing left to prove, nothing to grip. You are worthy to receive, simply by being here. Now let these words settle into your bones like quiet rain. Speak them with your breath, or let them find home in your dreams. I wake up as abundance, even when I forget. I am welcome in every space where wealth lives, especially my own. The world gives to me as easily as I give to it. My receiving heals past, present, and future all at once. Wealth comes to me with warmth and with ease. I am safe to want more, I am safe to rest. It is enough to be, I am already enough. Let these truths drift gently, finding every room inside you